You are standing 3 feet away from a tiger, not behind glass, not on a screen. 3 feet. You can hear it breathe. You can feel the air shift when it moves. It is 250 pounds of muscle and instinct that has been hunting alone for 40 million years, and it is watching you the way you watch someone you are trying to figure out. Here is the question that nobody who has ever stood in that position could stop thinking about. Can a tiger actually bond with a human? Not tolerate you, not choose not to kill you, but form something real, something that functions like what your dog has with you, what your cat has with you, what you have with the people you trust. Most people say no. They say a tiger is a solitary predator. It has no social architecture for attachment. It does not live in packs. It does not raise its young in groups. It does not need connection to survive. Whatever you feel when you stand near a tiger that knows you, that warmth, that extraordinary stillness that is your emotion, not the tiger's. You are projecting. The tiger is simply tolerating a known non-threat. That explanation is cleaner than the evidence allows. In 2014, a wildlife presenter named Giles Clark raised 2 tiger cubs rejected by their mother at Australia Zoo in Queensland. What happened over the following months was documented on BBC television, not because it was staged, but because what Clark observed did not match the standard behavioral model at all. The cubs did not simply habituate to his presence. They sought it. They followed him. They pressed against him in ways that had nothing to do with warmth or hunger. They initiated contact. When Clark left, the cubs showed behavioral distress. When he returned, the distress resolved immediately. Clark went on to become Director of Conservation at the Big Cat Sanctuary in Kent, England. He has spent over a decade working closely with big cats and has documented the same pattern repeatedly. Tigers raised with consistent positive human contact do not merely tolerate specific humans, they differentiate between them. They respond differently to different keepers. They show measurable behavioral preference for the people who have spent time with them, not just the people who feed them, but the people who simply showed up consistently over time. That differentiation is not nothing. That is the beginning of something. Now picture this. At a wildlife sanctuary in South Africa, a Bengal tiger named Aries has lived with the same primary keeper for 6 years. Every morning, the keeper enters the enclosure through a protected contact gate, a barrier that allows interaction without direct physical contact. Every morning, Aries moves to the gate before the keeper is visible, not when he hears footsteps. Before, he is reading something finer than sound, the specific chemical signature of one person, arriving on schedule, in a pattern his nervous system has learned to anticipate as safe. He presses against the gate. He makes a sound, a low, chuffing exhale called prustin, which tigers use only in contexts of calm and positive social contact. No other keeper receives this greeting. Strangers receive stillness, distance, assessment. He knows the difference, and his body responds to it. Research published in the journal Animals in 2023 by Amy Holland and her team at the Manchester Metropolitan University studied social behavior in captive Malayan tigers and found something that disrupted the long-held assumption of tiger solitude. Male tigers, long considered the most asocial of the big cats, showed consistent affiliative behavior, not just toward their mates but toward their cubs. They engaged in proximity-seeking gentle contact and what the researchers described as social plasticity, a capacity for social bonding that the wild solitary model had consistently underestimated. The social wiring was there. It had simply never been given the right conditions to express itself. Giovanni Quintavalle Pastorino, who has studied personality and sociality in captive tigers across multiple institutions, has argued that tigers are not solitary in the way we mean when we say solitary. They are territorial. They space themselves in the wild because resources demand it, not because they are neurologically incapable of attachment. Remove the resource pressure. Place a tiger in an environment where proximity to another individual is consistently associated with positive outcomes and the bonding circuitry activates. It was always there. Here is the part that turns everything. Your dog bonds with you the way it does because 15,000 years of selective breeding rewired its genome to orient toward humans, to read your face, to seek your approval, to feel genuine distress when you leave. That bond is genetic. It goes all the way down. A tiger that bonds with you does something different. It makes a choice that nothing in its evolutionary history prepared it for. There is no genetic reward for trusting a human. There is no ancestral template for trusting at a gate when one specific person arrives. The tiger's nervous system was built for solitude, for territory, for a world without keepers or sanctuaries or daily schedules. And yet, given enough time, enough consistency, enough of the right kind of presence, some tigers choose to extend their threat assessment system to include one human as known, as safe, as worth pressing against a gate for. That is not the same as what your dog feels. It is not smaller than what your dog feels. It is something else entirely, a bond formed not by genetics, but by a decision made, day by day, by an animal that had every reason not to make it. And this is the part that is about you. You have people in your life you did not have to trust. People your history gave you no template for. People who showed up consistently enough, in the right way, for long enough, that your nervous system, despite everything it had learned before, reclassified them. From unknown to known, from uncertain to safe, a tiger cannot love you the way your dog does. Its brain was not built for it. But some tigers, under the right conditions, choose to trust one specific human in a way that has no biological explanation, no evolutionary logic, no survival advantage whatsoever. They just keep coming to the gate. And maybe the most honest question science has not fully answered is this: when an animal that has no reason to trust chooses to trust anyway, what do we call that?